When did someone destroy themselves piece by piece for someone who rejected them? My best friend Marcus was the kind of guy who'd walk through fire if you ask nicely, loyal to a fault, the type who'd drop everything to drive across town if you said you were sad. And for 5 years, he poured every piece of himself into a girl named Liana, someone who never truly saw him. She wasn't cruel, at least not on purpose, but she used him like a human safety net. Every time a relationship ended, every time life knocked her down, Marcus was there, arms wide open, heart even wider. It started small. She'd call him crying at 2 a.m. He'd pick up, always. Missed classes, skipped sleep, didn't matter. Then came the favors, rides to the airport, help moving apartments, borrowing money she never paid back. He once postponed his own vacation because she broke up with some guy she'd been seeing for 3 weeks. He didn't even hesitate. I watched him give up everything. His time, his health, his happiness. He stopped dating anyone else. They're not her, he'd say. He stopped painting, too. Marcus was an insanely talented artist, but after a while, the only thing he ever drew was her, over and over. I once saw a sketchbook he thought I wouldn't notice. Page after page of her smile, her eyes, her name. She never asked him to stop living for her, but she never told him to stop either. That's the thing. Some people love the feeling of being adored, even if they never plan to return it. Then came the day she announced her engagement. Not to Marcus, to a guy she'd met on a yoga retreat 3 months earlier. Marcus smiled through the news, told her he was happy for her, said she deserved the world. Then he went home and didn't come out for 4 days. When I finally got into his apartment, it was like stepping into a museum of what used to be a person. Food untouched, curtains drawn, half-finished portraits of her torn and crumpled on the floor. He never said it, but I think that was the moment he realized. He'd spent years offering his soul to someone who never even noticed the pieces she was holding. I remember him sitting on the floor, back against the wall, and saying quietly, I wasn't in love with her. I was in love with the chance that one day she'd love me back. That hit me harder than anything. He wasn't foolish. He was hopeful, and that hope hollowed him out. He's better now. He's dating someone kind. He's painting again. But there's a part of him that never really came back. A part of him that still lives in those long nights, in those silent rides home, in every just friends smile she ever gave. And when I see him glance away during weddings or when he hears her name mentioned casually in a group chat, I know that even healing leaves a scar you can feel in the quiet. What breaks me the most is knowing how many versions of himself he erased for her. The dreams he set aside, the relationships he pushed away, the person he could have become if only he hadn't poured so much of himself into someone who never asked him to, but never told him to stop either. Love, real love, doesn't ask you to shrink. It makes you more. But for years, Marcus made himself small enough to fit inside her shadow, and by the time she stepped into the light, he was already fading. Sometimes I wonder if she ever knew what she did to him. Not in a vindictive way, but in the quiet kind of guilt that creeps in late at night. Because while she moved on, loved and lived and forgot, he had to rebuild from the rubble of a fantasy he built around her smile. And that kind of heartbreak doesn't show up in songs or stories. It lingers in the quiet corners of someone's life forever.